It's been 5 years since Returnal dropped as a PS5 exclusive, and straight up, I love that game. It was my first real venture into the roguelike genre, and to this day, I still consider it one of the best exclusives on the console. It put Housemarque on my radar. And now, we finally have the follow-up, Saros. This is the rare kind of sequel that doesn't just build on the gameplay mechanics of its predecessor, but it perfects them. Housemarque hasn't just created the bullet ballet genre, they've mastered it. The moment-to-moment combat is A1. The environments are beautiful and the art direction is sexy. But it's not a flawless victory. A few of the weapons fall short of my expectations. There is some questionable character development throughout the story. There is a lack of variety in the skill tree, and a surprisingly easy endgame threw me off and left me wanting more. But make no mistake, Housemarque has given us a gameplay masterpiece with loads of replayability. Here is AntiMetaDoom's review on Saros. Saros delivers a relentlessly paced gameplay loop that demands pure instinct. While it shares DNA with Returnal, Housemarque turns it up by flooding the screen with complex projectiles, engineering a true bullet ballet. It looks overwhelming at first, but the game gives you the perfect counter, the Tsorthan shield. This single mechanic rewires how you play. By blocking, absorbing, and parrying incoming fire, you build your power shot meter. So, instead of frantically backpedaling away from danger, you are actively hunting down projectiles. You'll find yourself locked into a rhythm, gunning down a primary target while peripherally tracking enemy fire, calculating the exact moment you need to step in and parry or absorb. Throw in a generous invincible dodge and a perfect reload system that maintains your offensive momentum, and you have a flawless mechanical gameplay foundation, the true sign of a brilliant gameplay loop. You feel lethal before you even touch a skill tree upgrade. However, the execution isn't flawless, specifically regarding the control scheme. Every gun features an alternate fire, which is activated by halfway pressing the L2 trigger, while pushing it all the way down unleashes your loaded power shot. Now, in theory, it's a neat trick that shows off the power of the haptic feedback system of the DualSense controller, but in the middle of a chaotic firefight, finesse goes out the window. Trying to gently press L2 while you're dodging 3 different projectile types usually results in you activating your power shot. Add in the fact that you cannot remap this specific command and the alt fire becomes inconsistent. Oftentimes, I found myself abandoning it entirely. When it comes to firepower, the game offers 5 distinct weapon archetypes, each featuring 3 unique variations that roll with randomized stats and perks. The design caters to the varied playstyles. Some variations offer generous auto-aim, while others demand precise free aim but reward you with critical weak spot damage. Saros also introduces corrupted weapon drops. These weapons scale their damage output based on how much corruption your character has accumulated. It's a brilliant high-stakes, high-risk reward layer embedded right into the loot pool, allowing you to organically shift your bid mid-run if you want to push your luck. While most of the arsenal gets the job done, the standout for me is the Tsorthan shotgun. Its high stun capabilities and raw close range burst damage allow you to aggressively attack any enemy in the area. On the exact opposite end of the spectrum is the Ripsaw Charkham, and I hope I'm saying that right, but the gameplay loop for this weapon completely misses the mark for me. It relies on an awkward fire and forget mechanic where you shoot the blade and wait for the damage over time to tick down. Not only does this leave you wide open to other enemies you aren't actively firing at, but the feedback is incredibly poor. Half the time, it's impossible to tell if the blade is properly revved up and doing optimal damage. Maybe it's a skill issue on my end. Maybe I'm ass, but for me, it breaks the flow of the game and it misses the mark. Aside from the Sartari shield, Saros takes its biggest departure from Returnal in its progression system, the skill tree. Here, you permanently upgrade your character's attributes and abilities. On your first playthrough, the pacing feels great. Upgrades come fast, the impact on the battlefield is immediate, and the tree itself is surprisingly expansive. However, I'm deeply conflicted about it. When you hear the term skill tree, you expect the agency to branch off, experiment, and carve out a unique character build. Saros doesn't actually give you that. Instead, it's a rigid linear upgrade pathway masquerading as a skill tree. Your only real tactical choice is deciding whether to upgrade the left side or the right side first. They missed a massive opportunity to lean into distinct playstyles. Imagine if each major milestone unlocked a branching pathway that forced you to commit to specific archetypes, like a drive build path, a power shot build, or an alternate fire focused build. Giving players the freedom to mix, match, and optimize their builds would have added mechanical depth. Calling it a skill tree stretches the definition of the phrase. It's really just a linear stat tracker. What makes this illusion of choice even more apparent is you eventually unlock every single node anyway. The order in which you buy these upgrades only really matters for the first few hours. It completely flattens out at the endgame into a standardized experience. If you want to actually get some enjoyment out of this system, my advice is to pick one side and commit. Max out a single pathway first so you can actually feel the benefits faster. That said, I won't call it lazy, because the raw power scaling does make a difference. By the time the credits roll, the progression turns you into something way more overpowered than you ever could become in Returnal. When I jumped back into the first biome after unlocking the secret ending, I felt like a god. This completely shifts the dynamic compared to Returnal, where a new run demanded a high baseline of mechanical skills, no matter how many hours you have logged in. In Returnal, you can't outgrind a boss, you just have to get better at the game. But in Saros, because your maxed out stats turns your second playthrough into a victory lap, that can flatten the end game. Sometimes you aren't winning because your reflexes got sharper or your tracking got better. You finally beat that biome because your passive damage resistance got larger and your ether drops came more often. This highlights the contrast in Returnal and Saros gameplay wise, and why I understand when people say Saros is easier. The developer tries to combat this by letting you activate difficulty modifiers, but their implementation feels pointless. These modifiers do make the overall game harder, but they don't give you any actual in-game rewards for your trouble. You aren't getting extra Lucenite or rare resources. It's an artificial difficulty spike just for the sake of it, offering zero incentive to engage with it. Because of this, the modifiers failed to meet my expectations as a real game changer. When you first start up Saros, build crafting is basically non-existent. Your artifact spaces are limited, forcing you to rely entirely on your instincts and whatever tools are dropped in front of you. But as you push deeper into the skill tree and things start opening up, you finally get a glimpse at the actual build options. And honestly, just like in Returnal, I found that speccing into pure resilience, no matter the cost, is the definitive way to play. Tanking more shots and staying in the pocket longer is just too valuable, especially during those brutal boss fights. But here's the catch. Because the skill tree relies heavily on passive stat dumping, the game has a major mechanical contradiction. Take the Sartari shield for example. A truly deep build crafting system would let you spec into a high risk, low shield glass cannon build, or a hyper defensive tank build. But because Saros doesn't actually let you build around the Sartari shield, everyone ends up playing the exact same way. This means the real build variety is offloaded entirely onto the artifacts, the weapons and their traits, and the world's RNG. Some players might hate being at the mercy of the drop pool, but for me, I like it. It keeps the run sporadic, forces you to understand synergies in real time, and keeps the combat feeling fresh. One thing Housemarque is going to do is give you an ambiguous ass story. They did it in Returnal, and they did it again here in Saros. But even with the vague plot, these developers are masters at environmental storytelling. Through audio logs, written entries, and character dialogue, the game litters the world with timestamps and diaries of the past. They give you a haunting picture of what Carcosa looked like at the height of its existence, while slowly unraveling exactly why you are trapped in this time loop. All of this builds to a top-notch atmosphere, dare I say better than Returnal. From the moment you are dropped on Carcosa, you feel completely out of place. Your own crew is ready to shoot you on sight, and you are tasked with figuring out what the hell is going on. The plot moves slow, and you don't really get a grip on the narrative until the third biome. Arjan, the main character, starts as a sympathetic figure, but as you dig deeper, you find out he's kind of a piece of shit. Essentially, he's running around like a madman looking for a woman who is not even interested in him. And honestly, I love that. When you walk away from a game feeling strongly about a character, whether good or bad, the writers did their job. It was also refreshing to see an Indian guy in the lead role, backed by a diverse cast. I've played every version of a white guy in a video game, so this felt new and different. My main issue though is the pacing. Progression is hard gated by death. If you get stuck wallowing in a specific biome for hours, the narrative completely stalls out. You can find logs, but the actual plot stops moving while you're getting stomped out in that biome. Without spoiling anything, the story is serviceable. I didn't love Arjan's ultimate motivation, but it moves the plot forward. Personally, I would have preferred a more Commander Shepard style mission, fighting against the odds to save everyone. I guess I just wanted a little more bravado. Ultimately, Saros is a triumph and a mandatory play for PS5 owners. Housemarque didn't just recreate the foundation they laid 5 years ago, they refined it and set a new gold standard for the genre. It's not without its flaws though. The clunky L2 alt-fire implementation is incredibly frustrating during chaotic firefights. Some new guns missed the mark, and the linear stat tracker masquerading as a skill tree robs the players of true gameplay variety. But when Saros hits its stride, those complaints fade into the background. The core gameplay loop, driven by the Soltari shield, is addictive. So instead of dodging enemy projectiles, you are aggressively hunting for them. Combine that flawless combat rhythm with a refreshing protagonist like Arjun and a masterclass in environmental world building and storytelling, and the package is just too good to ignore. So AntiMetaDoom, I'm giving Saros a 9 out of 10. It's a spectacular, high-octane masterpiece that you need to experience for yourself. Get out there, commit to a pathway, conquer the loop, and come back stronger.